Introduction. John Stuart Mill's harm principle says that people should be free to act however they want as long as their actions only harm themselves and not others. According to Mill, the government or society has no right to interfere with a person's private choices if those choices don't directly affect anyone else. I agree with Mill's view. People should have the freedom to make their own decisions, even risky ones, because personal responsibility is part of living a free life. Trying to control people for their own good often creates more problems than it solves, and it treats adults like children instead of individuals capable of choosing for themselves. Body paragraph 1, what Mill actually means. Mill's main idea is simple. The only reason society is justified in stopping someone is to prevent harm to others, not to protect a person from themselves. For example, if someone wants to smoke, drink, do extreme sports, or follow a lifestyle others think is dangerous, that is their believes that forcing people to behave a certain way for their own safety is a kind of tyranny. It removes their ability to learn from their own actions and denies them the dignity of making their own decisions. Body paragraph 2. Why personal freedom matters. I agree with Mill because taking risks is part of being human. Every successful person has pushed themselves into uncomfortable or dangerous territory at some point. If the government or other people try to protect everyone from every possible harm, then nobody grows. For example, someone might want to take on a physically intense sport or push themselves to the limit in training. Another person might want to invest their money in a risky business. These actions could cause self-harm or failure, but they are also opportunities for growth. People get stronger, wiser, and more capable by making choices and dealing with the results, good or bad. Freedom requires responsibility, not constant. about someone who wants to push themselves in the gym, even if it means risking injury. Or someone who chooses a job with physical danger, like construction, roofing, or firefighting. From the outside, someone might say they are harming themselves. But the truth is, these people are choosing their own path. They accept the risks because the reward or meaning matters to them. If society tried to stop everyone from doing anything risky, a lot of the important jobs and personal achievements would be impossible. People should control their own bodies and their own futures. They're the ones who live with the consequences, not the government, not strangers, and not anyone else. Counter-argument plus rebuttal. Someone might argue that we should intervene when people harm themselves because it can emotionally affect their family or place a burden on the healthcare system. This seems like a reasonable concern, but If we base laws on what might upset others or cost money, then almost any personal choice could be banned. Eating unhealthy food, staying up too late, doing extreme sports, driving fast cars, or working long hours could all be labeled self-harm. Interfering too much becomes a slippery slope. Mill is right that adults must remain free to make their own decisions, even risky ones, because otherwise society becomes overly controlling and treats everyone like they can't think for themselves. Conclusion. In the end, Mill's harm principle is correct. People should have the freedom to make choices that only harm themselves, because personal responsibility and individual freedom are more important than forced safety. Life involves risk, and growth often comes from struggle. Interfering with people's private choices does more harm than good, because it destroys independence and replaces it with control. If a person's actions only affect themselves, they deserve the freedom to